Welcome to the Work Hard, Play Hard, and Give Back a Real Estate podcast. We're here at the studio at American Homes in Franklin Square. Today's guest to the show is none other than Senior Vice President at Coldwell Banker American Homes, David Innocenzi. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike. Great to be here.
Awesome. Before we get started, though, I just want to remind our audience, if you like what you see here today, like, subscribe. We'd love to have you back for future episodes. And by the way, stay to the end for the drop the mic question. We always have a lot of fun with that. So you're going to have fun with this one.
I'm sure I will.
All right, there we go. All right, so David, so your background. Let's start really at the beginning and stuff. So you have a different path to real estate. One of the things we like to do is explore people's path into the real estate business. But yours came via Rome, Italy, right?
Yes, that's correct. I came via Rome. That's where I'm from. I was born in Rome. My family still lives in a little small town just outside of Rome.
So you originally came to New York, correct? It was your first place in the States?
Yeah, so after I moved in, my destination was New York. I was an exchange student when I was 15, and that was actually in Florida for a year.
Ah, okay.
So that was my first experience of the United States.
Now, if I have this correctly, when you first came to the States, you didn't even speak English effectively?
I didn't at all. I only studied French in school, and I remember coming into the U.S. and at TSA, the customs agents was asking me questions, and I opened my backpack and dropped all the paperwork that I had on his desk, and I said, there you go.
There you go. Now, you came with no adult supervision, correct? They put your backpack on, put you on the plane, and gave you a one-way ticket, I heard.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes right now.
Yeah, that's actually accurate, yeah. I swam all my way back.
So what was it like coming to a different country, not even speaking the language, or having that mentor or family member that you could kind of like hide under the wing? That must have been intimidating.
It was, especially at the beginning when I couldn't communicate as well. But I had the blessing to end up in a family that hosted me for the full year in Florida, and they became my almost my real family. We're still in touch with them. So I get to have two moms. They both like to yell at me and be very loud. But that was a blessing, I was welcomed right away, and coming here, was a dream of mine. Everyone in Italy watches, shows about the United States and stories, and it was a dream of mine to be here and see if I could make it.
All right, there you go. Now you stayed a year and then obviously went back home for a period of time. Finished school. Is that what it was?
Yeah, exactly. So I finished. I attended my senior year of high school here in Florida. Then I went back to Italy, and there was another year of high school left there. So I finished there, and then eventually, because I had this connection with the States, I kept coming back as many times as I could.
Right.
And then it kind of turned into a business, and then finally, one time I stayed.
Okay, so since your first introduction was Florida, what made you come to New York?
So during in my 20s, I had a company with three friends of mine, and we're still very good friends. And in Milan, and we were doing something called voice over IP, the Skype kind of technology. Mm-hmm. And we had clients in New York, and because I was the only one who wasn't married of the four. I was the one that was always traveling every few months, coming here and dealing with potential new clients and the business side of it. All my other three friends are all on the coding and software engineer side.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So where does coming here for business trip / become coming here to live full time?
Yeah. I know we're trying to get there. All right, so let's get there. So, well, the way to New York and the way to real estate actually went through my heart because on one of the trips, I actually ended up meeting a woman who I
always
married.
Meeting the girl. It's always
it's
a
always
girl
the
in
girl.
the story. Yes.
It's always the girl, and she was living in New York. She was in real estate. And when I proposed a week after we met, I had no plan, and it seemed like a good idea to get into real estate and work with her.
All right,
Yeah.
there you go. So hence you wound up in, and now when you say New York, not everyone in the country understands the difference for like us New Yorkers. There's New York, like the city, and then there's the rest of New York. There's suburban New York, and then there's rural New York as we have. So where in New York does David Innocenzi start his real estate career?
Yeah. It was actually in Manhattan on the Upper West Side. That was my first office.
Okay.
But
Is it a brand or is it independent?
No, it was a brand. Now it's called Douglas Elliman.
Okay.
And that's where I started. And I started basically as the assistant of my, at the time, wife. She's my ex-wife now.
Okay.
Yeah, I was basically trying to learn as much as I could from her. And she was a great teacher. And I had a great manager at the time. And that's how I started. And I actually remember one episode.
Yeah.
Which kind of gave me a lot in terms of learning about real estate. I walked into my manager's office one day and I said, Jeff, I have a fantastic idea. I'm going to market myself as the real estate agents for Italians. So everybody who comes from Italy is going to work with me. And he looks at me and he says, that is the stupidest idea ever.
Who hasn't had a few stupid ideas over the years, right?
His point was that I should, market myself to the broader audience possible.
Yes.
And, start selling a co-op, right? in New York
Why
City.
limit yourself?
Yeah. Don't pigeonhole yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's interesting. So you got into sales for a while, right?
Yep.
And then, so what was next for David?
Yeah. So when during the 2008, 2009, when the market has I wouldn't even say
took a turn.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it took a dive. It just nothing was moving in the city, and a lot of real estate agents were kind of depressed. I felt like the big office wasn't a good fit anymore. Everybody was not as joyful. So at the time, one of the top producers in that office, who is still one of my best friends, Doug, decided to go out and venture on his own and start his own company.
No relation to Element.
No,
different Doug.
He's a different Doug. Yeah,
Okay.
He's not the Doug of Douglas Elliman, no. But he decided to go on his own and started his own company, which was called Headings Property Group, that's his last name.
Okay.
And he asked me and my ex-wife to go with him, and it took us about 15 seconds to say yes. He was a great guy. And from there, I started getting more involved with him in the running of a brokerage.
Okay.
And then a few years later, that brokerage was absorbed by another brokerage in the city, and I had the opportunity to become the manager for the offices for that company.
All right. What, do you want to share the company?
Yeah, Core Group Marketing. It's a great place. Yeah.
All right. It's still around today, right?
Still around. Yeah. It's a great company.
So how long did you stay in that role?
I stayed there for about 4 years.
Okay.
And then I went to a company just actually down the street on Fifth Avenue, Compass.
Okay.
And I was there
Was that still a startup at that time, or?
No, it was already like somewhat established. Yeah. They had just started the expansion into different states and so forth. So I got exposed to that different culture of real estate, different way of seeing real estate, and it was great. And I still have a lot of great friends there.
Yeah. So what was the role you took on at Compass?
At Compass, I was an agent coach.
Okay.
So I was, meeting with agents every day and trying to coach them on help them to grow their business.
All right. Interesting. Yeah. So the path brings you to a lot of different aspects of the business, right?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. And how long were you at Compass?
So Compass actually wasn't a long experience. It was maybe less of a year, and from there I actually had the opportunities to join an actual real estate technology company, meaning it wasn't a brokerage.
Right.
It actually did technology for brokerages, and I worked with them for about a year or a year and a half.
Which company is this?
It was called Perchwell. From there, it ended up that my one of my main roles was to actually continue to meet with agents and train them, and and educate them on this new system. And
Right.
and there I realized that I actually missed my first calling, which was actually working with agents within a brokerage,
Yeah.
full time.
So it's sort of like comes full circle. So to
It
speak.
did, yeah. It did come full circle at the time, and and it's and at that point, I actually had an opportunity to interview with Coldwell Banker in this was like 2019 now, and
Okay.
and I interviewed with at the time the regional VP for Coldwell Banker, Bill McCartney, who's become one of my mentors as well.
Right.
And he's now in Arizona. And every time I see a picture of him, I tell him that I love him, but I also hate him a little bit for how good he looks. So I met with him, and from there, a few months later, I was managing the Great Neck office for Coldwell Banker Realty, and then maybe a year later, I also managed the Manhasset office for Coldwell Banker Realty. And then in 2021, in April, one sunny Monday, you guys came in, and we merged.
We had the Zoom meeting, right? So,
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So Coldwell Banker Realty and Century 21 American Homes merged on April 29th, and we met on April 28th on a Zoom meeting. Right?
Yeah, and nobody told us what it was about. It was almost as stressful as this interview.
Oh,
Yeah.
come on. This is not. This is easy. This is easy.
Yeah, this is kind of easy.
Yeah. So, very interesting. There was our idea not to meet the management team early. It was Coldwell Banker's idea, since you were an employee of theirs. We had to kind of follow their rules in order to get to the finish line here. So yeah, we had 1 day notice. We did this merger on the heels of COVID. So people were still, we were back to work, but they did not want to have big meetings. So we did all on Zoom. And here we were. We went from 12 to 24 offices overnight in the busiest real estate market. So what was that experience like?
So I wasn't as involved with the merger, having found out basically a day before.
Yeah.
But then, we all got very involved, really hands-on, and rolled up our sleeves. And I have to say, it was impressive to see how quickly everything was into production, and agents getting paid next day, and systems all falling into place. Yes, we definitely had some kinks and bumps along the road, but
Yeah.
I actually that's one of the things that made me appreciate the company I work with, is because we actually worked through those kinks and bumps together as a team from the get-go. I actually remember that Zoom that we had, and I really had no idea who Tom and Mike were, and so right after I called Bill McCartney, who was our regional vice president, and I said, who are these guys? What's going on here? And he said one thing. He said, they're good people, and really that's all I needed to know. And I have to say, now going back, I proposed after a week the first time. I decided to move to the U.S. very quickly. I was okay with him just telling me that you guys were good people. For someone who likes data, I think I'm a very impulsive guy. But it all seems to work out.
Well, I guess you got to blend data with intuition.
Yeah, just go with it.
Yeah, exactly. So when we merged, you were managing both Great Neck and Manhasset, by the way.
Right. Yeah,
And-
both offices.
Right. And then, so if I could kind of like patch in, since now we're overlapping now in Coldwell Banker American Homes, about a year into this merger, Bill bought a house. Him and his wife bought a house out in Arizona, which was going to be a vacation home, which he loved so much that he decided we're going to stay here. So I remember Tom and I saying, okay, well, man, we got get somebody who's really good, who can really step their game up and stuff.
And he wasn't available, or she wasn't available.
So it's very funny because you've heard me say this before, but I kind of had you in the back of my brain, and but I asked Bill, and Bill goes, maybe you should consider sitting down with David Innocenzi. I'm like, okay, that's interesting you bring that up. So since that point, it kind of forced us to make a change, and then so you've now been put into the senior vice president role over at Coldwell Banker American Homes, so overseeing 18 managers?
Yeah. So we have 18 managers, and it's a fun job. My daughter says that my title is, manager of the managers. I guess it doesn't fit on my business card. I actually don't have business cards. Everything is digital now.
Yes.
But going back to the meeting where we met and and I was offered the position, that was a very interesting meeting because driving there first I get a text from Tom Gallagher, who for some reason when he texts me that he wants to see me, it just sends like a 4-word text message. Can you come to East Meadow or whatever? And so that was already kind of stressful. And then on my way there, I got a flat tire. So I arrived at East Meadow. I have a flat tire. I go upstairs. I open the door and I see Tom, Mike, and Bill. And I look at them and I say, if you guys are going to fire me today, it's not a good day. I already got a flat tire. Not a good day. And, thankfully it ended up being something else. But,
Yes, yeah. An opportunity. Opportunity was knocking.
Yeah. No,
All right,
it was a good meeting.
Good,
Yeah.
good. Well, here we are. And now what is it, 3 years later?
Yeah, it's just about 3 years, yeah.
For our audience, so you have some unique experience and vantage points. I always like to say vantage points in real estate because for an average agent, they might know how their office works. They have an idea how they want to build their business or how they should be building their business. And yet, I think it's really helpful to see different vantage points in this industry. So, you've had some of the most unique vantage points and stuff. So what's an aha moment, that you've had in the past about the industry that might be useful information for an audience member?
One of the most interesting things that I've seen in our industry is the path to success has many different roads, right? And depending on where you are geographically, depending on the market and so forth, and depending on your personality. So there's really no one type of agent that is successful in real estate.
Right, definitely not a cookie cutter.
There is many different personalities and there's many different traits that can make a real estate agent successful. The common trend is consistency, never give up, and have a plan. And that comes across, where a lot of the, top agents and producing agents that we have, where they all get to success different ways, whether
Right.
it's, Gail Carrillo and her team or Brian Karp or Larry Theodore. And by the way, if you haven't seen those episodes, make sure you get those episodes on our podcast.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to hear their stories and see how they got to success in very different ways, right?
Yes.
So it's definitely not a cookie cutter industry, which is very interesting. And my role I see my role somewhat of a connector, right? So where I absorb something from somebody and then talk about it with someone else and say, hey, did you think about doing that? Brian is doing it, or Gail is doing it, or Larry's doing it. And the other great thing is that they're all very happy and willing to share what they do, which is not common in other companies. But so being this role of connector, I am exposed to a lot of different things. And path to success is one of the things that surprised me the most when I first started.
Yeah, but would you necessarily agree with the thought process? Even though there's different paths and different personalities, there are some commonality that you see in successful, agents and teams.
So first of all, is believe that you're going to do it, right?
Yeah.
So envision success as something you are going to achieve, right? And then just focus on the process. So map out the steps and take those steps consistently. Don't take a day off from the process and keep pushing, and eventually you'll make it. What I love about real estate is that we like to be on Facebook and Instagram and so forth, but most of us are not, especially myself. We're not rocket scientists. I think I've actually only interviewed a rocket scientist who wanted to get into real estate after he retired. But
but did he do it? No.
He did. He did. Yes.
Successfully?
Yes. I don't know. I think he got an allergy attack. So. But the idea is that if you are consistent, if you're true to yourself and you have a plan and you execute on that plan, you have high tolerance for I don't want to call it rejection, but for the fact that not everything is going to go your way right away.
Right.
You'll make it. Like you you really have the opportunity to build a legacy, a business in this industry, which other industries don't allow.
I always call it, right, you've heard me say this, a business worth owning. An agent should be working, or team leader should be working on building a business worth owning.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to be in business. It's not easy to have a business worth owning.
Yeah.
A successful business. That's how I define successful business.
Yeah, Deb Asher was always here on my shoulder whispering words in my ear. She calls, working on your business, right? Work on your business as well as in your business, especially when you get busy. And some of those agents that have been very successful and continue to be, it's because they have the ability to time manage and focus on working on their business, even when they're very busy working in their business.
Yes, very much so. I like that. Never stop learning, basically. Never stop learning. So what do you consider the biggest challenge in supporting a leadership team, especially a team that's spread out geographically? So what does that challenge look like?
So the leadership team that we have, actually makes the process quite easy. We're very lucky to have a great leadership team, and and everybody cares, everybody's on board.
I don't think it's luck.
And
by the way,
but you tend to attract, I guess, people that see themselves into the project, and and that. But you're right. It's not luck, but it is something actually that comes from the top down, right? So after I did get to meet you and Tom, I have to say, I see why some of the members of the leadership team have been here for such a long time, right? And it's because you've been able to share your vision of what the company was going to grow into with them consistently, and make them part of it, and make them feel heard, and make the agents feel the same way. So the retention that this company has is quite incredible. And I think in part it's because of this energy that comes down from, Tom and Mike in every day. You're probably one of the most hands-on people, business owners that I've met so far in the industry.
Well, I would say real estate, even as a business, right? Not just as an agent, it's not something you can put on autopilot.
No, you always do something, and you always do something different, which is great, right?
Yeah.
So I remember the call. We had a manager in one of our offices, and he calls me one day and he says that the toilet was broken, and he said, "Who do we call? Do we have a handyman?" I'm like, "What's broken?" He said, "The handle." And literally, I was in the area, so I'll be there in 20 minutes, and I fixed it. And and by the way, I'm not a handy person at all. Ask my wife.
YouTube video.
YouTube. YouTube everything. But we're really hands-on, and there's really this sense of belonging and community, which is again, it starts from the top, but it's perceived and felt throughout the company. Yeah.
So you want to talk a little bit about how we've been leaning into AI to find the synergies and efficiencies to help our agents be more productive?
Yeah. The AI is definitely been, like we were recently in Las Vegas for the Coldwell Banker convention, Gen Blue, and AI was about probably 85% of all the classes that were there. And AI it's such a big range of products, right? So one of the things that, Chris Monterio, who's our CTO, one of the things he says is like, it drives him crazy when somebody says, I want to start using AI. We should use AI. And he's like, well, what for, right? Because it's not, it's not a solution to everything.
Yes.
It's an assistant. It's something that helps you.
Ask a deeper question.
Yes, exactly. So the results are only going to be as good as the questions are, right?
Yeah.
So some of the things that we started now is Chris is actually putting out weekly short webinars on different aspects of AI and how to work with prompts, how to build gems. We, as a company, we use Gemini because it's part of the Google Workspace platform that we provide to all of our agents. So all of our agents have access to the Gemini Pro accounts, and as well as all the Google Workspace. So we provide a lot of training not so much of what AI is, because it's going to be different tomorrow.
Yeah.
But how to leverage it in the sense of how do you build a prompt, and how do you, how do you communicate with it? What's the concept of it, right?
Practical application.
Practical application. How do you do a CMA or things like that, and then coming out with different solutions. So we're embracing it as a company as much as we can. We are, we're lucky enough that all of our agents have access to a pro account for Gemini, so they can do more intense work than the free accounts allow you to do. And you can do a full video, generate videos and stitch them all together. And I get very excited about this stuff. So, but the idea is that it's something that real estate agents should adopt. To be clear, I actually don't think, and this was said at the conference too, and I fully agree with it. I don't expect AI to replace the real estate agents.
No.
But the real estate agents that adopt AI in their everyday business and their business planning are most likely going to replace a lot of the agents that don't.
Yeah. It's just going out producing.
Yeah. Which goes back to the question you asked before, which is, what are some of the challenges that the leadership team has? And, one of the challenges is understanding a different generation of agents that have different tools than what we had, right, when we started in real estate. I remember walking into the conference room at Douglas Elliman to put together a board package, and there was a typewriter, right? And when
what's a typewriter?
Exactly, that's what I asked, and and it was used to fill out board packages, board applications. So from there, obviously the technology has evolved a lot.
Yes.
And now I'm not putting down Douglas Elliman. I'm sure that typewriter is gone by now.
Yes, that's
but at the time it was there. Yes. So, and this was like 2007, right?
Right.
So we already had Adobe. We already had, so the technology has changed, and for us to embrace the changes that the industry is bringing upon us, is mandatory. Like we have to we owe it to our agents to be the most forward-thinking.
And our clients and customers.
Yeah. But our agents are also our clients as well, right?
From our level.
From our
level.
level.
Their customers and clients are our customers and clients.
Yeah, if we can't provide them, if we can't put them in the best possible position to compete and be, above most everyone else in the industry,
best in class,
then we're not doing our job right. So we take that very seriously, and and I see it in Tom, and I see it in you, and and as some of the people that I've encountered through the through my real estate journey, like my friend Doug that I spoke before, and Bill, and I consider you guys my mentors as well, because of this vision that you have, this forward thinking approach. And it's like, how can we do it better, right? Which is something that people are asking AI now, right? It's like you ask for something and then you say, how do you do it better? No, make it even better, make it even better, make it even better, right? My friend Justin always says that. But the idea is to try to always improve incrementally to provide better services and shift the company mission with the changing times.
So now you've heard, obviously, it was big news 2 weeks ago. Compass and Anywhere brands. Compass is the largest independent brokerage in the United States. Anywhere Brands is the parent company for Coldwell, Century 21, Corcoran, Sotheby's, ERA, Better Homes and Gardens. So the largest franchisor of real estate in the world, essentially. So the two are getting together in a merger, right? And that's caused some ripples and stuff. So how do you see that impacting the marketplace?
So I actually think it's very interesting, right? And it just describes where the industry is going as a whole, and it's more than just economic factors, I think.
Yeah.
So I think a company like Compass, who has built a technology stack first and foremost, and then provided to its agents. I think it's kind of a natural move to want to become the biggest service provider for that technology. So I think it's a great move for them. I've heard all kinds of stuff in the trenches of people asking me, is like, so are you all going to become Compass now, or is Compass going to be the biggest MLS in the country? And reality is we don't really know what's going to shake out,
right?
Except
at the highest levels.
At the highest level, except for us being a franchise. I think that I'm actually very happy to be part of it. And I much prefer being part of this big change than being excluded from this big change.
Right, sitting on the sidelines and
watching what happens.
The other big guys get together to work collaboratively, right?
Yeah, the way I see it, this is an opportunity to improve the systems and tools and and scope of what we get from our national brand. Yeah. Right. And at the same time, as one of the biggest franchises for anywhere, not just Coldwell Banker, we're one of their biggest clients. So as a client, and one of the things that I learned about America as an immigrant is that the client is always right? Is that a thing?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
So by being one of the biggest clients, I would expect that we would actually be able to take advantage of, potentially better tools and better systems and a more powerful structure. So it's, I think there's an opportunity for the industry to get better. I think I think the biggest stressful point is for the people who have been just chugging along and, mailing it in different positions, whether as agents, as brokers, as, leadership positions. And now there's literally earthquakes going on under their feet, and how do you adjust to that, right? It is a very interesting time to be in real estate. Yeah.
So interestingly enough, you and I got this question this past week, right, about the merger and saying, are we going to become Compass and what have you? So I think it's important that we're clear. I think you're on the same page with this. Is that obviously we have a franchise agreement with Coldwell Banker. And that Coldwell Banker is such a tremendous organization in 43 different countries around the world. Tremendous market share, 100,000 plus agents, that it stands alone. And I think Compass is not going into anywhere so that every brand's going to rebrand as Compass. They're going to go in and leverage Anywhere brands as a franchisor to franchise Compass. It's the other way around. And potentially the Anywhere brands can take the best in technology out of what Compass has built. So
yeah, no, absolutely. I think you're just you're right on all of that. And Coldwell Banker is a very powerful brand, and it's an asset to Compass, right? That's why they want to buy it.
I want to come back to the other thing, which really kind of knocked on that door. And the other thing was that I've been asked is, so are we now forced to sell our company to Compass? And it's very clear that we're an independently owned company that happens to franchise with Coldwell Banker. So there's no first right of refusal or option to buy our company. So the fact that they're merging on a franchise level doesn't affect us on a local level. So it's kind of funny. Some agent asked me, what's going to happen with my closing next week? How am I going to get paid? Same way you always got paid, typically in 12 hours or less, right? But we handle our own payroll. So I see this thing on the highest levels is it doesn't affect us from our day-to-day operations, but what it can really impact would be, I'm curious how you feel about this. Compass was pushing exclusives and stuff, against the NAR push of clear cooperation. Well, Compass is one company. Now they just merged with the behemoth that's Anywhere. All of a sudden, do we need every MLS in the country? Does the Anywhere Compass merger give them the ability to create their own internal multiple listing service?
Yeah, and it is going to be very interesting to see where the industry goes, right? Because now we have a group of 350,000 agents.
Yeah.
And it's it's basically it probably is one of the largest MLSs in the country, right? If you put them
by
together.
far,
yeah.
So there's no one even close.
So that's quite the force, and
they got offices in all 50 states. Then, when you look at it that way, they're in literally all 50 states and multiple countries as well.
So I think maybe agents may have an opportunity to be better heard from maybe from organizations that gave agents for granted in the past, right? I think everybody's going to have to listen and watch a little bit more carefully.
Yeah.
I think the idea that we all become compass is just it's just not a viable financial idea, right? It wouldn't work because we are much more valuable as Coldwell Banker American Homes to them than we would be as Compass.
Correct.
So I don't think it's, I think the rumors and I know that nobody in our industry spreads rumors. They mostly just forward them. But
they got to start somewhere.
They're all forwarded. But anyone who stops for a second, right?
Yes.
And realizes that, it's not financially viable. Like, it makes no sense from a financial point of view, right?
No, each one of those brands has massive Wall Street value. So you don't just throw a brand in the garbage. You consolidate costs.
Yeah, and and the relocation services and all of that. So the consolidation of costs and the maximizing the exposure of all the different brands is really where the key is.
Right.
And providing these tools, that's a winning play for
better support the agents
as well.
Exactly.
And ultimately, if the tools that we get are better than the tools that we get from our MLS, then maybe your question is right to be asked. It's like, why do we have an MLS, right? And again, we don't know where it's going to go.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people that work very hard on our MLS.
Yes, exactly.
But everybody should be watching carefully what happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously, this business can be 24/7. It's hard to find a beginning and an end. So, what does play hard mean for David Innocenzi? How do you unplug from the demands of 24/7 real estate?
So that's a great question, and probably not the answer you're expecting.
You haven't figured that out yet.
No, I do. It's just not, it's, I should say, I spend a lot of time with my kids, and instead, I'm going through a full midlife crisis.
Okay.
And so I decided that I have this incredible passion for dogs, and specifically training dogs. Last May, I see on the Facebook page for the shelter in Port Jeff, Save a Pet. They do a lot of great things. I see the picture of this dog that they had, and she's a Cane Corso, which is an Italian Mastiff. So I instinctively felt connection with her. She's a Cane Corso is an ancient war dogs that the Roman soldiers actually used to use and bring to war.
So you had the Roman connection with them.
They had the Roman connection. They're afraid of nothing. They're great, companions and so forth. And it's actually interesting when you read about it. But so the point is, this time my wife was a little bit more stern about, no, we're not doing this. But I had started my midlife crisis, which was dog training. So I watch a lot of YouTube videos with dog trainings, and then I try to do it with my dogs, and it actually works.
Okay.
So I convinced my wife, or maybe I should say I conned my wife into going over there.
She's going to see this.
She's going to see what she knows. Into going there. And this time I called my daughter and I said, hey, why don't you come with us? We're going to just look at puppies. Because this time I needed support, because it was a very difficult thing to pull off.
Right.
Long story short, we ended up with this 75-pound, beautiful blue brindle Cane Corso. I've been officially put of notice that I'm one dog away from divorce.
Right, there you go.
But it's interesting actually. The dog training is probably what takes my mind off of the
pressures of real estate.
The pressures of real estate and what we go through, and the legal things and all that stuff.
So let's do a shout out. Apparently you have a burgeoning YouTube star in the house. So you want to tell us about the new channel starring your four-legged friends?
Yeah. So I watch a lot of YouTube dog trainers and things, and and they have thousands and thousands of followers, and and obviously when you watch YouTube videos, the first thing you think is, I can do that.
Right. Not everyone thinks that, though.
Okay, so maybe I'm competitive that way. So I found this to be like the easiest entryway for me dog training.
All right. So you want to give a shout out to the YouTube channel?
Yeah. So Rhea, which is my cane Corso, Rhea, Rhea, she has a YouTube channel. It's called Rhea the Cane Corso, and we are approaching 500 subscribers.
Okay.
And
And
if we reach 500 subscribers by the time this airs, Mike is going to give $1 million to one lucky viewer
Puppy.
or puppy.
Yeah, there we go.
But yeah, so Rhea the Cane Corso. So I started this channel, and I started with shorts. And
started what, like 30 days ago?
yeah, I started about a month ago, and then it goes. I also started a TikTok account for it to go together. The one promotes the other, and I have about almost 500 subscribers on YouTube, and almost just over 400 on TikTok.
Yeah.
And it's something that had always scared me, and now I'm a little bit more comfortable with.
Now, apparently, though, Ray is getting a lot of views, though. What's your biggest number of views for a video so far on this brand new venture?
So I think this is how the YouTube addiction works, because I did a couple of videos and I got a few hundred views, and then I did one short, which is definitely not the one that I thought was the best one.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, within 2 days, it had like 5,000 views, and within like 3 days, it had 10,000 views, and then it got to like about 15,000 views. And then I tried an experiment, so I actually promoted it for 2 days. Like I think it was like $25-$30, and it got to 40,000 views. And now, and I know that maybe it's not as big as a number of the big YouTube stars. But it's impressive to see that something like that gets 40,000 views
for a dog.
Yeah.
With a brand new.
It's not too bad for a dog. So and that actually brought a lot of subscribers, which and now I'm a lot more comfortable talking to our agents about doing something like that, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily about dogs, but about about real estate,
About
between
social media.
putting together. And I use a lot of AI to come up with concepts and thumbnails, and you study some stuff. So it's actually very interesting, and it applies to somewhat. Wait, let me say this with a straight face to my wife. It applies to my job, so I must continue to do it. Okay.
Let me give it a straight face back. All right. So it's good that you have an outlet, and actually this kind of fits into the next conversation real quickly, which is giving back. So certainly saving dogs in rescue, and giving them a home, I think could be considered community service, by the way. So I know I got a pair of dogs at home too, so we do our fair share that way as well. So just to pivot real quickly, what favorite, giving back is something really, big part of it. Do you guys, you and your wife have a favorite charity or something you want to give a shout out to as well?
Yeah. So first, one of the things that being part of Coldwell Banker exposes you is St. Jude's. So that's definitely one of the things that one of the charities that I've actually been exposed by meeting some of the parents that were benefiting from it, and when you actually see how not only how real it is, but also how essential it is.
Yeah, the impact it actually makes.
Impact, yeah, and how they say now 80% of kids will survive, which is a great percentage, but it's still not enough, right?
Right.
So that work that Coldwell Banker is doing is very important. On a local level, we after we merged, I've come to know the Heart of American Homes, which is our foundation, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen that at work, and I've actually seen it. I've been involved with a couple of things where I've seen it at work, and it's impressive how a small group of people can make a huge difference to the communities where they live, right?
Yes.
And to complete strangers, right?
Yeah.
So we're part of the same community, but they're also strangers.
Yeah.
And that's impressive, and I'm not the authority to speak about it, other than being completely in awe of the work that the board and Tom Gallagher and everybody does on
the team.
For the foundation. It's really incredible, and again, the one thing I will say is that when originally the tagline was there is zero overhead. And I always thought, well, there's gonna be a little overhead. And then now I can tell you, 3.5 years into, there's really no overhead. Yeah. Everybody does things from their heart, and it's impressive. And then if you give me 1 second to really fix my relationship with my wife,
this is my charity work. Right?
Yeah, that's Mike's charity work. One of the people that does a lot of good is my wife. She's a physician, and she works for a federally funded clinic where she sees a lot of patients that have either no insurance or very little insurance, and she here on Long Island, and she does a lot of good, and she's very well loved by her patients and her coworkers. But it's not an easy place to be, to be a doctor. It's, she's, so what she does is inspiring, and she works really hard, and she's very stressed about it. And, she comes home and, but she truly is an inspiration for what she does. And we, the clinic does some, events, like for example, this past weekend, we did a safe trick or treat event, where the clinic was all decorated for Halloween, and we went there with the kids. All of the kids volunteered for it.
Okay, good.
They were in charge of the scary hallway, and they did a great job. Everybody, most kids came out of it crying, so they did an excellent job. It was scary for sure. And then all the younger kids would walk through the hallways, and we would just give them candy, and we were dressed in costumes. By the way, I was forced into a costume. If you see any pictures, it was not approved by me.
Okay.
But we did it.
So what costume did she get you to wear?
So we were both minions from Despicable Me. Yeah,
okay.
And I know you have a lot to say about it, but just
we're gonna get a copy of that picture and then let that do its talking for us.
But it was great. It was great to do when you see these kids, be happy, and say in the same in the same wave we do like holiday meal right around Thanksgiving, where we serve food at the clinic. And for 3 years now, I am in charge of the hot chocolate station.
Okay.
So that's my station. Nobody touches it, and it's mine, and I'm very proud of it. It's and it all stems from what she does. Yeah. And the commitment that she puts into that. Yeah. So sometimes our troubles, our stresses of real estate are put into perspective.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. It's time for the Drop the Mic question.
So before I go into the drop the mic question, I want to remind our audience, please, if you love what you're hearing here and seeing, just like, subscribe, join us for some future episodes. We'd love to have you here. We want an honest answer here. So, what's the better Italian export, Ferrari or pasta?
All right, so I'm on the committee that writes some of these questions sometimes. I didn't see any of these questions first.
That's right.
Let me point these out.
That's right. No one gets to drop the mic questions ahead of time. There you go.
Or any other questions. I didn't see any of it. What is the better export? Well, I think... I think pasta is a much more popular and accessible product that expresses the greatness of Italy. Ferrari, is an icon, so it's. But if you ask me, the best export I have is my own olive oil that my family makes. My brother-in-law makes in Italy. So that to me is the top. But I would say pasta brings Italy to anyone who wants to try it. Ferrari is a little bit more exclusive.
Yeah.
But it's it's definitely an icon.
There you go.
It's a status.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing some culture with us today. So, both real estate culture and your Italian heritage culture.
Boy.
So we're happy to highlight it and showcase it here. So, David, I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for being an integral part of Coldwell Banker American Homes and for being a great interview on our show today. Okay?
Oh, thank you, Mike. Thank you so much for having me. And I really urge everybody to, if you don't want to watch these episodes, if you don't understand my accent, please go and check out all the other episodes. They're really great.
Great. Thank you.